$75 in Bookman's trade for, that's like a $150 pedal new, you know, circa 10 years ago prices. And he's like, oh yeah, he does have a similar one. I think his other drummer has it over at the other practice space or something. And she's like, no, can I take a look at that? I just want to make sure, because I know it if I see it. He fucking pushes her out of the way, storms past her, and just heads for the exit and leaves. He could have hurt her. I will fuck you up if I see you on the street, motherfucker, you little piece of shit junkie. I got no love for irresponsible drug addicts. No love. See that? See that? That's a heart. That's a heart. And that's me slashing it in half. I got no love for you little fucking junkies. Alright? We are not friends. We are not family. You harsh words. Damn. Does he mean them? I don't know. He sure does pull out his gun a lot these days. Fentanyl prescription. I have to have not only pain control, I gotta have a fucking mood stabilizer. I got way too much PTSD to deal with this shit. Man. So he fucking unhooks the bass pedal. I will fuck you up if I see you in the street, you little bitch. Little lying motherfucker. I'll fucking ice you. I'll fucking, and your fucking bomb-making daddy. I'll fucking ice both of you. I know what his fat ass looks like. He came to the gate that one morning, banging the fuck out of it at the band hut, saying, hey, John, it's your father. Come talk to me. Where are you? I haven't seen you in a week. Yeah, 'cause your little junkie ass was living in the band room. Not my band room. This was before I knew you. And I said to his old man, I said, yeah, true story. Man, that was like a 3-hour stream. Just like 3-hour nightmare, basically. Yeah. You know, I'm making these clips, trying to make sense out of the whole affair. You know, because, like, you ever feel that way? You ever see, like, somebody that totally screwed you over? Like the worst aspects of humanity. And you think, like, I will fuck that motherfucker. You ever feel that way? I'll bet at least once, right? Because who doesn't get wronged at least once? I mean, I wish I could say I lived a super charmed life where nobody's ever done anything really messed up to me, you know, but I can't say that. That's a lie. You know? What's more disturbing, to be a liar or to speak disturbing truths? Which is more disturbing? I don't know. They're both pretty disturbing, right? You don't want to really hear a lie, but you don't really know you're getting told a lie. That's the thing about a lie. You have to be really intuitive to know when you're being lied to. You know, you have to know the signs, and, like, junkies are real good at lying. Like, they use desperation and pity and, like, you know, empathy against you. You know? So, like, you see that in that story right there, we had an associate, someone that could have potentially been a good friend in the future, but, you know, good friends take time. You know that, right? Like, like if you go to TwitchCon and you start hugging and kissing people, yeah, I'm JJ. I'm the producer of video games and more, and I'm the owner of Bright Idea Records. I went to TwitchCon last year in San Diego. I didn't make it to Vegas, but maybe next year. Anyways, if I'm still alive, don't talk like that, JJ. I don't know, man. It's really rough these days. Yeah. But, nah, if you go and you start hugging and kissing on people at TwitchCon, it's probably because you've logged hours upon hours upon hours in a chat room together, right? It's like you don't make a fast friend, like, immediately. You know, that's like, because, like, there may be nice people in this world that are kindred spirits. You know, that's a good word or a good term. You know, you might meet birds of a feather that flock together. That's more like what junkies do. You know, they make fast friends. It's like, hey, you do junk too? Let's go behind those bushes and see how much junk we can do. And you know, that's understandable because when you're like a little rodent scurrying in a world of cats, you know, you're gonna go hide in your mouse hole until the coast is clear, and then you're gonna go look for cheese together. It's only nature, right? It's nothing ugly. The problem is like the after effects. You know, if it just so happens you're a little rodent that likes cheese, but in order to find cheese, you have to go steal the cat's stereo system, you know, and pawn it or whatever, you know, that's not nature. That's fun, some twisted fucking shit, right? That's what the things like capitalism will do to people. That's not nature. That's weird. That's a construct. That's an idea. That's some kind of weird thing that people use to maintain some kind of a semblance of a reality. You know, some kind of contextual environment for which to function and do things and not get your throat slit in the middle of the night by a bandit or a raider that wants your shit, right? Because that's what humanity dealt with in history. So, yeah, it's going to be one of those streams. Probably uncomfortable. Hey, man, if you don't talk about the problems, they're never going to go away. So what? What else do you have to say, JJ? You going to try to freak us out? You know what? I don't have anything to say. Maybe I'll quote some things. Because, like, I read books. I remember things sometimes. And, you know, it's a good idea to quote. Is this still out of focus? God damn it. How are you ever going to listen to me if I'm out of focus? Even if my mind is focused? Yeah, man, you know, I'd like to read from this one first, but, like, that's what the topic of this stream is. It's about balance, right? It's obvious. I'm joking around. I can't even balance a checkbook. What am I going to tell you about balance? You know, I've got a little bit of time today. I'm still freaking out from yesterday because I thought I read good news on the front of the New York Times or whatever. You know, it's not a real newspaper. I don't know if it's a front page article or not. That used to be a big deal. Like, if something is on the front page, like I guess if you would have gone to NewYorkTimes.com and that was the thing you saw, I guess that's front page news. That's like the equivalent. I didn't go to the front. I didn't go to the, you know, the root level of the domain. I did not do that. God damn, this guy's a nerd. Yeah, the root level of the public underscore HTML folder. Or perhaps the /var /www, you know, on a Unix system, or maybe like on a Windows system. I think Apache does the same thing. It's like C drive var, C drive /var /www. There's probably like an HTML subdirectory in there, or maybe like what, a CGI bin directory. Yeah, I didn't go to the root level, but I think it was probably front page news. It feels like it should be. I was telling you in a reply today, I meant to talk about it on the stream, but when you get all worked up and stuff like that, you know, sometimes you diverge and don't make it back. You know, when I was last in Kalamazoo, Michigan, it is Michigan, it's not Illinois, right? I just know that name. How can you forget that name, Kalamazoo? It almost sounds like it sounds like that guy on the Jetsons. Or am I thinking of the Flintstones? I think I'm thinking of the Flintstones. The little green man, you know, that used to appear to Fred sometimes. The Great Kazoo or some shit like that. Yeah, it almost sounds like a made-up city name. The last time I was there was in 2003. And the Afghanistan war had been declared. at first 9/11 happened in September. Oh, 9/11, September 11th. And then like 2 years later, the actual war started, and that was a big mess. Weapons of mass destruction that are being hidden, all that jazz, right? And oh, also please forgive me for broadcasting in a lowered resolution and bit rate or whatever. I've been getting messages. Yeah, and these aren't from a little green man on my shoulder. These are messages on a little green phone. Green because it's environmentally friendly, right? It's shit like, you're never gonna believe that, because you can't see that. Stuff like that. I'm all out of data, so I have to conserve. Unlike the rest of you, I'm sure some of you are in my shoes. I'm sure some of you know what it's like to be working with sticks and stones and be trying to build skyscrapers out of sticks and stones. I'm sure some of you know what it's like. But what else can I do, man? I'm a highly evolved human. Alright? Just because I'm a broke-ass piece of crap drug addict doesn't mean I'm not a highly evolved human. That has to do with, like, the balance of it all. It's like, just because I feel like icing that junkie in the street doesn't mean I actually could. But man, it feels like I could. It really feels like I could right now if I think about it, and I really don't want to think about it. But yeah, when that war started, a lot of things happened. And when I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, we stayed at a hotel because we were exhausted. Might have been on the last tour. I think it was on the last tour. It was like July of 2003. And I guess we were on our way down south to Colorado. And on the front of the newspaper, it declared that there was like a helicopter, like a military-grade helicopter, I think it was. I don't know if it had like two propellers. Like those big airships, like you got a propeller in the front and a propeller in the back to keep it up in the air. I think it might have been something like that, because there were like 17, there was like something teen soldiers in this aircraft, and like for whatever reason, I think it might have got hit by a missile launcher or had some kind of technical malfunction, and it came crashing down like a ton of bricks, and every American soldier with every person that had a family attached to them, they all died. It went kaboom, just like the space shuttle, just like the Challenger when that exploded, and just kaboom, you're incinerated. That's probably what would happen if like a nuclear bomb fell. Like, I don't really know, but I have seen Terminator 2. I have heard about Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I do know that sometimes people get incinerated instantly, and that's what happened to those troops when I was last in Kalamazoo. What a great memory, right? But me and Freddie, he's dead now. We cheered. We're like, yeah, that's what you get for fighting for a stupid government. That's what you get for going to war and defending our rights, our safety. It didn't feel that way. It didn't feel like they were protecting us, because like terrorists are sneaky motherfuckers. All right? Like all the clandestine, sneaky assassin level shit that the Al-Qaeda agents, or whatever you want to call them, the Splinter Cell guys, the Osama bin Laden guys, all this sneaky shit that they had to do and pull off in order to pull off 9/11 was like levels beyond war. Okay? Like Shinzu, The Art of War, all that. Like, I don't know if I said that right, but you know the title I speak of, The Art of War. It's like that guerrilla warfare. That's when you're super sneaky, and when you're outnumbered, but you still manage to like pull something off. Granted, if you got a fucking super rich dude like Osama bin Laden backing you in your activities, all of a sudden being a guerrilla warrior is not that big a deal. Because you can afford top of the line gear, you know, and you can hire top of the line assassins, you know. So it's like all of a sudden it's not like you're a freedom fighter. It's more like you're just like Blackwater, except they're you know mercenaries. That's a different level. That's like if you're talking about a balancing act and coming together in the middle, like on the polar spectrum, you got like guerrilla warfare over here, and then you got like mercenaries over here, you know? Because like one is fighting for like their people, I guess, and one is fighting for like money. And you can't really figure out which one is more noble because like you don't know what they're going to do with the money and you don't know what kind of people these people are fighting for. So like you can think either one is noble or you can think either one is just totally dastardly and garbage, you know? It's like the context means everything. The label means nothing. Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, what a great memory. Yeah, last time I was in Kalamazoo, where apparently, according to the New York Times, there's a big-ass drug epidemic, you know? Like, I thought they were gonna say the focus is not on opioids anymore, the focus is on, stimulants, you know? And instead it's still on opioids. It just so happens that they're speedballing. That's great. You know, that's what killed James Belushi. Speedballing? Yeah, speedballing. That's what they call it when you're like doing a ball of heroin and you're rushing on some cocaine. Some or like a stimulant, you know? Caffeine is technically a stimulant. Ritalin is technically a stimulant. Adderall is technically a stimulant. Heroin is technically, you know, an opioid. Morphine is technically an opioid. You know, even things like Tylenol 3, which is Tylenol mixed with codeine. Even codeine is basically an opioid, but it shows up different on a drug test because it's like, it's not, you know, it's just like Adderall isn't meth. You know, like you've got Adderall, that's like what, a dextroamphetamine cocktail? And then you got meth, that's methamphetamine. It's like it's a different molecular thingamabobby. I told you guys I'm a high school dropout and I never took chemistry. But if you read the label, if you read the pamphlet that gets inserted with your prescription, it gets inserted with every single prescription. It's kind of a waste of paper. It's kind of like not green. It's kind of bad for the environment. But at the same time, if it's your first prescription and you've never read it before, you should probably read it. You know, you should probably do that with anything you're going to put in your body, including food. That's why they have like these nutritional fact labels. They didn't have those when I was this tall. All right? These, and I didn't even do the voice because I'm so serious. Let me try to lighten up. Yeah, we didn't always have nutritional facts labels when I was this tall. Yeah, man. That was invented by like the Surgeon General, I think. It was so that way people knew how many calories they were getting. Like fast food restaurants, they have the nutritional fact labels. Yeah, that's like difficult. That's like one, but then again, most of these fast food places are basically like successful. So, you know, to give them one extra task to complete isn't going to ruin and end their business. It's not like they're small businesses. They're more like mega corporations. Granted, it gets confusing because, you know, there's franchises. And those are basically like small businesses. They have an owner and everything. But they're a part of this mega corporation. And they do that because it's like an easier way to succeed and find a way to survive in this fucking competitive world we live in, where people are ready to knock you down a peg rather than knock you up a peg. It's like, you know, I've told you before, I'm a high school dropout. I don't even fully understand things like communism and socialism. I really don't. But from what I understand, you know, in a competitive environment, you're going to get knocked down a peg by every other competitor you got. Whereas in a cooperative environment, you get knocked up a peg. In theory, granted, it's difficult to get knocked up a peg if nobody's got a hammer, and there's no peg to knock up. You know what I mean? I had this boss one time. She was the head of the billing department because I was a developer, a software developer, but so technically I was a part of the development department, but I was working on a piece of software that had billing. It was the main billing program. So she was basically my boss because she knew way more about accounting and billing and stuff like that, this chick Doi. And she was talking about what it was like to be addicted to speed for a little while. I guess like Dexies, And everybody in the development and operations is like system administrator tasks and duties, like everybody, they kind of like stopped typing on their keyboards for a moment. They looked up from their monitor and they were kind of like, huh? What did she just say? Because she was one of the founders of the company. She was like one of the 4 people. You had Jan and Roger and Doi and Marcus. And even Marcus himself looked up. My boss looked up from his keyboard and went, huh? And Doi's saying, yeah, it was difficult when I was addicted to speed. And Neil Henshaw from the operations department, this is a good family guy, a Mormon. He looks over and he actually blurts out because she's not his boss. So he's not afraid of repercussions. He just blurts out because of his ethics, his Mormon Christian type of thing, ethics. He says, "Oh my, Doi, I've always held you up on a pedestal. I can't believe that you were a drug addict." And she says, "Oh, please, Neil, don't put me up on a pedestal. That's a long way to fall from." No doubt, right? I had a lot of respect for that lady. She used to have me over to her house in Sierra Vista, in Sari Vista, where Fort Huachuca is. I live here in Tucson. That's a long drive. But the first time I went out there, she picked me up at work and drove me out there. And she had a nice remoting terminal, office, like a remote office. And I got some serious work done in that cushy environment. She had really good coffee brewed up, and she had really good snacks. She had frozen pizza bagels, and she had freaking croissants, and she even had a bar. And dude, I totally got sloshed. After a hard day's work, I went back to my little guest room. You had to cross the living room, which had a library, like shelves upon shelves of bookcases of bookcases. She must have had several thousand books, and really good ones too. Just about anything that you could possibly want to know. So you'd have to cross through the living room and all of its books. It was like a library, and it had a recessed, area where it dipped down. So when you were gonna go, nerd out, you kind of got to go into your zone, on the couch in the dip down area. I didn't really get to do that much, but after I crossed through there, got back to my guest room, and I'm I'm bored. What am I gonna do? I got my laptop. I got my Toshiba Pentium 3 650, and there's a bar. I drank some Beefeater. That's gin. I drank some Captain Morgan, some rum. I drank some Absolute, some vodka. Man, I must have drank liquor cabinets worth of liquor that night. And I think I actually had something like a hangover the next day. That's amazing, because I think I'm one of the 5 statistically speaking, 1 in 5 humans genetically don't get hangovers. Isn't that something? It's been determined by scientists, they've done enough, blind, what do they call them, double-blind studies or whatever, where, they give people placebos, and they give them, the real thing, and then, they measure the results, and they determine, numbers and statistics. And somehow I saw on like PBS, the public broadcasting system, that they determined through science and scientific method that 1 in 5 people don't get hangovers, genetically speaking. And I am 100% certain that I, JJ Styles, Zot the Avenger, yours truly, I am one of those 5 people. I don't get hangovers. It's pretty amazing. It's like there's no drawback to me getting wasted. There's no drawback to me getting sloshed, except for the fact that I am still susceptible to, like, whatchamacallit, loosened inhibitions. That's right. All the chains come off when I have a fucking drink. But, like, waking up with a headache the next day, that don't happen. That sounds terrible. But I think that it's a matter of balance. It's a balancing act. Because, like, even though I got a pretty high tolerance for the crap, the liquor, like, if I drink enough of it, if I drink like a week's worth of alcohol in one night, I'm probably gonna wake up with a headache the next day. Shit, man, I'll be lucky if I don't piss myself. Like wake up in a pile of my own piss. Like, seriously, that was way too much drinking. But, you know what? I woke up and I did good work. It took a lot of coffee to get me able to work. Like, I was, like, at my remote terminal. Like, I came to her place to do work, not to party. Okay? But, hey, man, I wasn't ready to go to bed yet. Give me a fucking break. I'm a young man. I was, like, 20. Alright? And, fucking getting sloshed and listening to the music on my Pentium 3 Toshiba satellite. I was listening to, like, mindless self-indulgence. 2 hookers and an 8-ball! Can you believe that I write this shit? 2 hookers and an 8-ball! And stupid people think that I am cool. 2 hookers and an 8-ball! Can you believe that I write this shit? 2 hookers and an 8-ball! And stupid motherfuckers think that I am cool. Well, I feel a lot of pity. I suppose I should say empathy for the stupid motherfuckers. Because, they get misdirected and misled all the time because they're so trusting. They're stupid. They don't know how to be untrusting. Like, untrustable? No. Untrusting. Like, you gotta get your information from a good source. You have to have discerning tastes. Yeah, that's usually what intelligent people do. When you're a stupid motherfucker, like Jimmy Urine so described in that classic hit song, 2 hookers and an 8-ball. Yeah, when you're a stupid motherfucker, you tend to not be so discerning. You tend to just go with the flow, meaning that you tend to follow everybody else. If it's working for everybody else, it's gonna work for you, right? Not necessarily, kid. Not necessarily. It's too bad you're not smart. Like, I tell you, if people were smart, they'd all be like me, but I really don't want them to because I am unique. I wrote that. You can quote me. So what, JJ? You had a job. Good for you. There's a lot of people that don't. You know what? I don't have a job right now, sucker. I'm just telling you, I've done it all. I've been there, I've done that. Like that Mountain Dew commercial. I've been there, I've done that, okay? I'm just trying to say I can relate to people. I'm a compassionate person. And it eats me up inside to see people suffering because, like, I had good influences growing up. But the thing is, when you do me wrong, I think George W. Bush, when he did that Afghanistan war thing that I was talking about, in Kalamazoo, Michigan, on the newspaper with the 17 incinerated soldiers that I cheered for. I'm like, yeah, burn, baby, burn. I am the mad bomber that bombs at midnight. Like on that Tick cartoon. That's a great character. The mad bomber that bombs at midnight. I swear, man. When you've got an entire ocean of mediocre-minded type people, Mediocre mind, that's a term coined by like Greg Graffin, I think, because there's a good song off of the No Substance album called Mediocre Minds. All right? So when you've got an ocean of mediocre minds attempting to drown you, you know, and you have to use some clandestine assassin techniques like a ninja just to survive. You know, you got to dodge the wave of the ocean of mediocre minds and find your own individuality just to survive. It's a difficult thing because sometimes it looks like all the mediocre minds are having fun and that maybe it could work for you. But then you get a terrible wake-up call from reality. It's like, bring, bring, hello, yeah, this is reality. Wake the fuck up. You're not a mediocre mind, and it's not going to work out for you. You better do something quick, because you're on the downward spiral down the rabbit hole. Just thought I'd give you a warning. Heads up later. Oh, thanks, reality. God damn it, not again. I must be cursed. I'm a born loser, aren't I? This is just not working. Oh, well, at least I can survive to live another day. I think that's another famous phrase, is, he who runs away lives to run another day. I think I heard King Koopa say that back on the Super Mario Brothers cartoon show. It's a pretty famous phrase. He who runs today lives to run another day. Something like that. Yeah. There's a lot of complicated, multifaceted aspects to existence in this modern world we live in, you know? And I'm not one to tell you the right choices, because if you look at my standard of living, if you look at my level of frustration and disappointment, if you look at my utter inability to have a good time anymore, you know I don't have things figured out. But I can see the wrong things with my own two eyes. That's a reference back to that Doc Dart song, you know, off of Patricia, the very last track, you know? And I can see the wrong things with my own two eyes. So it's almost like as if it's like I'm a balanced person, because in the areas where I lack, in areas like success, conformity, getting along, yeah, and I can get along with people, but typically it's with like minds and kindred spirits, not necessarily. But of course, I try to find a common ground with people that are different. I always do, because I'm compassionate, and I always see a little bit of myself in other people. You know, I don't hate Republicans, I don't hate Democrats, I don't hate Jews, I don't hate Arabs, I don't hate Christians. I'm just disappointed by everyone. And it's really a letdown to be that way. I wish I wasn't that way. And sometimes I say I hate, because it's an extreme feeling to be as disappointed as I get. It might as well be hate, but the thing about hate is it usually sticks around. You know, hate is like a monkey on your back that's ready to pound in your head at any point and confuse and confound you to where you just have no, like, I wouldn't be making this stream right now if I was consumed with hate, all right? I'm just very, very disappointed. I'm sorry, I can't do this right now. I can't do this right now. Go away. I gotta talk. All right? I got my door locked. I got my gun right here. You can't stop me. All you can do is cut off my data connection. But I'm busy. Leave a message. I wanted to talk about the drugs. All right? Yo! What the fuck? Hey, I'm sorry. I'm on the internet live streaming, and you're on the internet, and I gotta go. So, okay, but yeah, I mean, I'm not really, not for a week or two. I'm just being honest. All right, take care. Good luck. Yeah, I got shit to say, guys. It's really important because when you're going down the downward spiraling rabbit hole, you better stop and maybe try to climb up the spiral because, I think that's a reference to like fighter planes, like in wartime, because like when you're going down and you need to eject out of your, fighter pilot, like where your console is, like that area, you know, when it's time to eject, that's like when you're doing the downward spiral thing. It's a bad place to be. And it's like I keep seeing aspects of our society downward spiraling, and it's leading straight to dystopia. We've got great achievements in the realms of like information technologies, and it was all predicted by Moore and Moore's law that it was inevitable. As long as the production of microchips and processors continued, it is basically certain that this would happen. All right? Back when I was this tall, yeah, man, it was predicted because there was an algorithm that was determined that said, "Hey, this is going to like get pretty powerful one of these days if it continues at this rate." So like we've got great achievements because in spite of social conflict and like not just conflict but just like just sad things, like whether it's a depression, which usually results in inflation. The money thing's a real big deal all over the world. I grew up watching Africa and all the suffering people, like in Somalia. I saw little kids with flies all over their eyes, because they didn't have money. So it's like the money thing is a big deal all over the world because it's basically the only way to come up. Like if you've got nothing, if you're accustomed to nothing, if you've always been nothing, the only way to come up is going to be money, right? So yeah, some say it's the root of all evil because it makes people so competitive, and sometimes people don't play by the rules. Sometimes they're sore losers. That's another aspect that's separate from playing by the rules. You've got the rule breakers, you've got the bad losers, the sorry losers. You've got people with bad sportsmanship. They may not be breaking the rules, but they're just like totally not encouraging good sportsmanship. Like competition is supposed to be like, I don't know, like the Olympics. It's like may the best win. That's the way it's supposed to be. The best. The cream is supposed to rise to the top. Like the cream of the crop, yeah, is supposed to rise to the top. That's what fair sportsmanship and good competition and the spirit of competition, that's supposed to be what happens. The cream of the crop rises to the top. But, there's so much chicken shit bullshit behind the scenes. Rarely do we get to see that. And, these are the exceptions to every rule. It seems like there are no rules anymore. They've all been broken and bent, and all you have are exceptions to the rule anymore. And that's why the dystopia looks really sexy on the surface, but I've read enough cyberpunk science fiction since I was this tall. I know how it all ends up, folks. And it's nothing great. Usually at the end of the book, you have a protagonist that rises to the top like the cream of the crop. Meanwhile, everything else is left, asunder, like all the mediocre minds even, those poor sons of bitches. It's not fair, right? And so what? Where do these rules come from? I don't know, man. A bunch of old people. Usually adults make the rules, right? I've never had too much respect for adults. But, I do have to start to think in ways of like, I am an adult. So even though I don't respect myself, I do respect myself. I've always respected myself. So it's a bit of a contradiction. I'm a bit of a hypocrite at this point in my life. I'm an adult. If I'm going to have any self-respect, I got to act like an adult. So, and it's difficult because, you know, you see me throwing tantrums on the streams all the time because I'm fed up with this shit. What am I supposed to do? I have no power. That's not true, JJ. You have the power of your non-mediocre mind. You have the power of communication. Dude, I took media communications. I didn't even like pass that. That's where the Johnny Winger show came from. You remember that? That was a very good production, JJ. You should be proud of yourself. You do know something about media communication. It's obvious. You were born with it or something, man. You get it. You watched enough TV growing up when you had that broken hip or something. You understand media communication. You just accept that you're no good at it. And so, you know, you give up because you don't have the analytics that everybody else has. I'm not giving up. I'm here right now. I'm here for you now. And I can see the wrong things with my own two eyes. Alright, I'm an adult. Okay. So these adults here in my country, my nation, the United States of America, they've typically followed the Bible. The Christian Bible. I don't know if they follow the Old Testament or the New Testament or the combination of the two. I don't even know the difference. I guess that the Old Testament is a little more strict. It's a little bit more by the book, if you will. I guess it's like Catholic versus Baptist or something. Like, as far as I know, things like the New Testament got invented because ruling people, like kings, you know, like the royalty, you know, back in the medieval or whatever times, like they didn't like that you couldn't get a divorce. Like, they used to have to kill their wives when they wanted a new wife. Like, they off with her head, you know, that kind of a thing. And they're like, God, this is so messy. This is so bloody. And not only that, but it's generating bad sentiment amongst the peasants. They don't like it when I kill the queen. But I have to. It's in the book, man. And they're like, hey, we can make a new one. Oh, that works. That's how serious their faith was. Okay. Faith in the word of God. Yeah, that's some pretty serious faith you got there when you just go and write a new book. Hey, man, it's a sign of the times. People, they progress. They progress from cave people into medieval people into spacefaring people, right? So I guess sometimes you need a new book when you change into when you evolve into an entirely different race of people. I guess. Dude, I told you guys, I'm not a mediocre mind. I don't even believe in this shit. But at the same time, I have to communicate in the language. And I'm looking for this one part in Genesis. This is what they call a scholar Bible. This is a Niv. They call this a Niv scholar Bible. And it has things like graphs and pie charts. Yeah, JJ's got a Bible. I've owned this for a while. You know, it's because I like to know the root of things. I guess my old man kind of made me that way because he always wanted to explain the root word. He's like, you know, these words that we speak, that you speak in English, by the way, you really need to work on your Spanish, mijo. I know, Father. Continue to talk to me in English. That's what I speak. Well, these words in your language, they have root words. A lot of times they come from Latin, and he's always like telling me some weird word and what the root word is, where the origin story. It's almost like a comic book superhero. Everything has an origin story, you know? And people love a good origin story. Like, who doesn't like Spider-Man? Peter Parker, he's living with Uncle Ben and Aunt May, you know? And then, like, you know, he starts to get his spider powers that develop from the spider bite, you know? And then he's, like, experimenting with his spider powers, and he becomes a pro wrestler. And after a pro wrestling match, spoiler alert! Everybody knows this story. After the pro wrestling match, he encounters a criminal, a robber with a gun and everything. as opposed to a thief, which usually doesn't have weapons because they're just a thief. They're like a pickpocket. If you're a thief and you start carrying a weapon, you're more like a robber at that point. But it's like the difference between peaceful protest and terrorism, you know? Anyways, where was I? It's the violence thing. That's kind of what separates the peaceful from the heathens. Where was I? And so he doesn't stop the robber, and Uncle Ben winds up dead. And he feels so racked with guilt that he swears his life to being a superhero and making sure that never happens to another poor person ever again. And that's pretty cool, right? No wonder he's a superhero, right? And so, I'm just like, everything has an origin story, right? That's what that's about. And I'm trying to find this one part. See, in these stinking scholar Bibles with these stupid words, they have the top part that's like the real Bible, and then they have this bottom part which is like the scholarly assertion after the careful analysis of it all. Okay? You know, because they take the time period into consideration with regards to like Noah built his ark and it was made out of cubits. What the fuck is a cubit? Can you explain? This explains the exact measurements of a cubit. So you can try to wrap your head around this nonsense. Right? Because, like, even though there's a lot of mumbo-jumbo, hocus-pocus, supernatural junk that's basically unbelievable, I mean, I guess if you play Assassin's Creed, maybe it becomes halfway believable. It's aliens, guys. Spoiler alert, it's aliens. We were put here. I don't even know if I believe that. Alright, there's a lot of indicators that evolution is the only truth. But then again, what did we evolve from and how did it get there? So maybe aliens, I don't know. Maybe like a frozen comet had a little piece of life frozen inside of it, and that little piece of life landed on Earth, and then you have us. That seems a lot more likely. Because ice, cryogenics and cryonics, can contain life, and comets are made of ice. Oh, yeah, that seems a lot. I'm not one to jump to conclusions. I'm one to hop to likely possibilities. Like, I can't say for certain if we came from comets, but that seems like a pretty likely possibility. Like, it seems a lot more likely that that happened rather than we got made out of dirt and then women got made out of ribs. That doesn't seem like a likely possibility. That seems kind of made up. It's almost infantile. I don't think they had universities back then. You know what I mean? Especially not Ivy League ones. Not that it makes a difference. I went to a community college where I got a lot of good, useful knowledge. So, you know, if you get to go to an Ivy League school, good for you. Hey, look out for those skull and bones people. They're going to convince you to do things, and maybe it's right up your alley, but probably not. I've heard some things about those people. But anyways, where was I? And what an attractive emblem. I even am a fan of the skull. Because I'm a hardcore motherfucker and I know what the skull represents. It represents a dead human. That's what it represents. That's pretty harsh. Yeah. You'll end up a dead human if you don't, like, pay attention and wake the fuck up, right? I don't even know if I can find this. Let me see. Oh, I think I found it. It says, then... Wait a minute. Okay, I found it. This is the thingy-merbob. This is why I've been flipping through the stupid pages. It has to do with drugs, and we're trying to solve the drug epidemic. Because I don't want to be so resentful that I want to kill you. Alright? So, this is where the idea came from, that it's okay to take drugs. Okay, it says, God bless them all. This is Genesis 1:28. God blessed them and said to them, this is a quote directly from God, okay, be fruitful. Ooh, I get to be fruitful? Sounds intriguing. Right. and be fruitful and increase in number. Oh, that's not the fruitful I was thinking of. Hey, don't worry. It's just like the origin of mankind. It's just a guideline. It's just bullshit that we still live by. I don't know, man. I like to make my own rules, remember? I'm an individual and I'm an anarchist, an individualist anarchist. I don't play by you're playing baseball while I'm playing kickball. 'Cause, I got a bad shoulder. I play by my own rules. Alright, but it says I'll start over and I'll try to go from start to finish, like as if this is a song or something, okay? So bear with me. I'm not preaching at you. I'm not even I've never even been to confession. I'm such a bad Catholic, okay? This is where it comes from, though. The whole reason why it's okay to take drugs and eat animals, and, it's because in Genesis 1:28, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, and over every living creature that moves on the ground. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth. Earth is in lowercase, by the way. It's not a capital E. That's fucked up. Mother Earth. And every tree that has fruit with seed in it, they will be yours for food. And to all the beasts of the earth, and all the birds of the air, and all the creatures that move around on the ground, everything that has the breath of life in it, I give every green plant for food. And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. All right. Wow, that's a lot to take in. So I guess that was the sixth day, because it took God a week. That's how big the universe is. It took God a week. Wow. That's something to wrap your head around, right? Not a fortnight? Absolutely not. It was a week. All right. It's a lot to take in. Even a non-mediocre mind like mine has to think about that for a moment. Let's keep my brain pickled. Tickled? Pickled. That helps. I could use a cigarette. It's a good thing God gave me all seed-bearing plants. I can have a fucking cigarette right now. I could really use one. Does that mean that God gave us a Fedra? What does a Fedra have to do with anything, JJ? Well, you know that article that the New York Times published? They talk about the origin story of methamphetamine as being seed-based, plant-based, much like the opioid is a seed-based origin. The opioid is a poppy plant, and that gets cultivated, and they derive drugs from it, like opium, and yeah. So likewise with the ephedra, which I think the Chinese discovered that one. Like, I feel like I remember when I was experimenting with ginseng and ginkgo biloba and stuff like here, I'll show you a book I read one time. Yeah, man. This is some cyberpunk bullshit. It's pretty cool. And I mean cyberpunk like futuristic and high tech, not like dystopian. But I read this one time when I first like got into the concept of like, well, it's the name of the book. Oh no, the name of the book's Brain Candy. This is a book about so-called, get ready for it, smart drugs. Oh shit. You mean drugs can make you smart? I don't know. They say only dopes do dope, right? So, I guess you just have to find out for yourself. Self-discovery through an experimental drug phase. Oh, that's we can't tolerate that. That's gonna create an epidemic of junkies, right? Well, if that's the only drug they have access to, I suppose. Well, that's something to consider. But yeah, I think ephedra has origins in China where they use a lot of herbs and stuff like that. They have for like centuries. So what, JJ? Are you saying that if Dr. Drew doesn't want to be the Surgeon General, maybe we should get some Chinese herbalist? I don't know, man. You know, they also like to grind up rhino horns and tiger penises. I've heard that too. Does that sound like that'll cure you of anything? There's probably something to it, otherwise they wouldn't do it, right? But what is the element contained in the rhino horn or the tiger penis that's gonna do anything for you? Is it the fact that it's a penis? Is it the fact that it's a horn? I think any scientist knows it has more to do with the baser elements, the makeup of the thing. Like drugs are tiny. They're like it. I even know that, and I'm a high school dropout. It's like Ant-Man size shit. Microscopic. Need a microscope to see the drugs. Like, yeah, I'm gonna smoke a tobacco leaf right now, but the tobacco itself is tiny. Yeah? So whatever, man. Yeah, I suppose, you know, if you wanna make sense out of the whole thing, it helps to have an expert. You know, Dr. Drew is an expert in addiction medicine. I've heard him say that like a million times, and I believe him. I believe he went to school. And, you know, I'm not sure if doctors always know what they're gonna study. Like, because there are so many areas that they can specialize in. You know? You could become a podiatrist. That's a foot doctor. You could become an orthopedist. That's like a bone doctor. You could become a neurosurgeon. That's like a nervous system expert. Alright? And the people that do brain surgery... Yeah, brain surgeons, they're actually called neurosurgeons. That's like, but still, it's like a subspecialty. Like once you've mastered being a neuro specialist, you know, and you decide, I want to do the most complicated, it's like basically if you're a computer security expert, right? And you master that so well that you just go into something really difficult like cryptography. Granted, it's more likely that a math expert is going to go there in that direction rather than like a computer expert, but it's not impossible. Like if you do security and you just have a knack for crypto, which is typically considered very difficult because there's, you know, it's kind of a specialty. There's like a lot of algorithms. There's like a lot of possibilities and there's like not a whole lot of tools to work with. You basically have to make your own tools. You have to come up with your own solutions. It's kind of crazy difficult because like it has to do with like numbers and possibilities, and there's a lot of numbers out there. And only one of them is typically the right number. Like you know, when you're dealing with like the prime numbers, you know, there's a lot more prime numbers than you might think there is. And yeah, so that's kind of like the level of difficulty, the learning curve when it comes to things like being a brain surgeon and being like a crypto expert, okay? It's kind of like their peers, except one's into medicine and the other's into numbers, okay? But it's like if you're playing a role-playing video game like Dungeons and Dragons or Fallout, you know, Baldur's Gate, whatever, and you like EverQuest, maybe World of Warcraft. How about Pokemon? So yeah, if you have experience points and you level up, like if you're gonna be a brain surgeon or a crypto expert, you probably gotta have like a level 30 intelligence. That's why they're peers. Okay? If that makes any sense. Here on the Zot the Avenger Rules channel on twitch.tv where people talk about video games. Yeah? Yeah, man. And on the youtube.com/jjstylesrocks where people talk about everything. Yeah, man. Okay. And what now? I don't know. It's my brain. I haven't even had my cigarette yet. That took forever to make. I really wish I wonder if I can actually make this work. Lately I've had, you know, this thing has a good flint. But lately I have to like give it a jump start. Because if I hold down the gas, actually, I don't have to give it a jump start. Sometimes this trick works. If I hold down the gas and then do that. But I got the air conditioning on because it's still hot where I live. So, and that wind is making it awfully difficult. Ta-da. Yeah. No, I want to get back to that initial question about, wait, what happened before I had the drink? I was like, I need to think about this. And then I was like, oh, I'm pickling my brain. No, not tickling, pickling. We were talking about, the seed-bearing plants and the ephedra and the poppies and like, oh, I think my brain came up with something, but you're not gonna like it. You're not gonna like it. I know you're not gonna like what my brain came up with. I'll tell it to you anyways, alright? Because it's the best I got, alright? It says that God gave us seed-bearing plants, and God gave us animals, and God gave us land, and like we are to rule over it. And I'm using this, you know, because my nation, under one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Who's God? I guess it's the Christian one, traditionally. So I'm using this example to make the statement using my critical thinking skills and my pickled brain. I'm going to say, just let them be addicts. Don't make such a big deal out of it. The problem will take care of itself because we've been given seed-bearing plants to do with what we will. And to try and control that is unnatural, according to the book of God that your nation is founded upon. I told you you weren't going to like it. It's true. It almost seems fucked up. I think it might be fucked up. Like cold-blooded, cold-hearted. Like, not in the interest of humanity. But I mean, it's true. It's like the Bible says we've been given seeds and plants and animals, and it's not a crime to use them. So why is it a crime to put them in your body? Just legalize it. The problem will take care of itself. It only becomes a problem when you have to take law enforcement and waste their time. Oh, but JJ, these junkies, they'll steal your shit. They are criminals. Not all of them. Why don't you just make it a crime to steal? And not a crime to consume. Everybody's pro-consumer already. Just fucking legalize it, dumbasses. See what happens. I know, it sounds radically libertarian, I know. almost like anarchist thinking, right? It's like we've got to develop society. We're supposed to protect our poor children. My daughter became a dick-sucking whore to support her crack habit. My daughter became a crack whore. Maybe your daughter was destined to be a crack whore anyways. Maybe you weren't a very good parent and didn't teach them another way to survive. You know, like to be a computer programmer, a professional skateboarder, like a professional rock musician. Maybe you gave your child nothing, and that's why they ended up a crack whore. And what's really wrong with that? I've met plenty of sex workers that are very cool. Some of them are as smart as me, if you can believe that. Some of them are smarter. What? I mean, I think a lot of you people go to a website called OnlyFans, and that's like the cyber modern equivalent to a crack whore, putting yourself out there like that. And I think everybody that goes there, they say things like, oh, this person's really smart. They're going to school for this and that. They're going to be a lawyer. They're going to be a neurosurgeon. They're going to be a programmer, a computer expert. Like, not every crack whore is a worthless degenerate. And not every drug addict is a thief. And God gave us all seed-bearing plants to do with what we will. Why is it illegal? Alright, I'll talk to you later. I got nothing more to give you. I'm a compassionate person, and I really... Maybe I do have a little love for the fucking junkies. But I still don't trust them. And they're still fucking up my life. I don't know, it's a fractional amount of love. I'll talk to you later. Better than... Yeah, I was gonna do this. Talk about the path of balance, but I don't think you're ready for it. I know I'm not. So think about what I said if you wanna. Alright. I know it's radical. I'm sorry. I wish I could come up with something better.